my face in a series of lessons about the hero's journey. I'll be guiding you through the next couple weeks of your learning here at BUHS. For those of you who don't know me, I work in the high school and I typically teach 9th and 10th grade English, so our paths may cross next year. So I'm going to jump right in here and talk a little bit about what our lesson is on today. You are going to be thinking about the 3 key stages of the hero's journey, and we're going to start to talk about character archetypes. So these are the types of characters who are often embedded into stories that revolve around the hero's journey. We will also hear about how the story Where the Wild Things Are follows the hero's journey. And then for your exit ticket, I'm going to ask you what other stories follow this model, and I'm going to ask you to explain your thinking. So I'm going to go through some slides in this lesson, and you should be following along on your handout here. So you should have the lesson 3 document in front of you with the warm-up, the 3 stages of the hero's journey or monomyth, and then notes on character archetypes. So this should be in front of you. I'll get us started with some sharing about my favorite children's book. I currently have a 4-year-old, and one of our favorite books right now is The Gruffalo. And one of the things I really like about it is how I like the writing style a lot. It's written in verse. And I also just really like the characters. The mouse in particular is very cunning, and I appreciate that. So that is my favorite children's book. So a couple notes for everybody. When I give instruction or I'm asking you to copy things down off of a PowerPoint, or in this case a video, I will underline it. So I'm going to toggle back over to my slides and just give you an example. So on this slide here, you'll see the archetype, the hero, and to serve and sacrifice. Those are the 2 things that are underlined. So those are the things that you have to have in your notes. I wrote down the hero for you, but you're going to add the additional phrase to fill in the gap. So you have a reference as we move forward with this unit. Okay, so I'm going to get started. You should have a pen or pencil ready, and you'll be following along as I give instructions. We'll start with archetypes. Archetypes describe the function or role of the character plays in the story. You can think of an archetype as a mask a character wears, and the word archetype means that it's like the perfect example of something. So you'll see archetypes repeat in lots of different stories. For example, one archetype that often appears in teen shows or teen movies is the jock, right? This sporty character who is well-liked and is popular in high school, but perhaps they have a darker side that they don't share with many people, right? So that's sort of that quintessential jock character in a story. Yes, so they can change, and characters can wear more than one mask. But these are just some of the typical archetypes that exist in the hero's journey. So the first is the hero, and you have watched 2 great videos about the hero's journey thus far, and gotten connected with lots of different examples of heroes in media and in books. So the hero's job is to serve and sacrifice. Their purpose is to separate and sacrifice their self for service of the journey, right? So they're giving themselves a part of themselves as part of the journey, and they might, and they know that they're going to face a challenge, but they recognize that sacrifice. They don't have to be good. Sometimes they're anti-heroes. They might be outlaws or loners. If you're sticking within the Disney model of the hero's journey, usually there's a happy ending, but that's not always the case. And the hero always grows or learns something during the journey. The next type is the mentor. The mentor is the guide. Their job is to guide. And the mentor provides motivation, insight, training, and guidance. Oftentimes they've traveled this road before or a similar path. And so that might provide the hero with insight into what's ahead. And the mentor can also provide the hero with magical gifts. Sometimes this is a physical character, but sometimes it might be more of an abstract thing, like a code of honor or a moral compass that's guiding the character, that's mentoring them and pushing them through their journey. Next up is the Threshold Guardian. This character is meant to test the hero. They protect the special world and its secrets from the hero. They provide tests which the hero must pass to prove commitment and worth. Again, they might be characters, objects, or forces. So we're thinking literal and abstract in this sense. Next is the Herald. Their job is to warn and challenge. They might issue a challenge or announce the coming of a significant change. And they often appear at the beginning of the journey. The Shapeshifter is next, and their job is to question and deceive. They might mislead the hero by hiding a character's intentions or loyalty. Their presence causes doubts and questions in the hero's mind, and they create suspense. In any sort of storytelling, conflict is an essential part of our engagement with the text or the story. Next is the Trickster. Their job is to disrupt. They might disrupt the status quo, turning the ordinary world into chaos. They might use humor or laughter to help the hero see the best or the absurdity of a situation. And they're often the hero's sidekick. If you have seen the movie Shrek, which many of you have, you can easily identify Donkey as Shrek's sidekick. Next is the Shadow. Their job is to destroy. They represent our darkest and dejected desires. They symbolize our greatest fears and phobias. They may not be all bad, and maybe another character or something lurking within the hero that must be accepted or purged. So this is another element in a hero's journey, and quite frankly in literature, that could be a literal character, like a character versus character conflict, or a character versus self conflict. A hero might have a tragic flaw. They might also have an internal conflict that they're struggling with, a negative trait that they're working to overcome, and that can be represented with the Shadow. Okay, so you should have the notes down for archetype. The next thing I'm going to do is shift my screen and talk a little bit about the hero's journey from the perspective of the story Where the Wild Things Are. On the PowerPoint that your teacher has, there is a video of a teacher reading Where the Wild Things Are, but I picked this book because I thought most students would be familiar with it. You're welcome to pause this video and watch that video to refresh your memory. But the intention with connecting this knowledge to stories that you've heard in the past is that I think that it really brings to light how universal this application and this analysis is when we're thinking about stories and we're thinking about literary structure. So in Where the Wild Things Are, Max, our protagonist, our hero, is sent to bed without dinner. And when he's tantruming in his room changes and shifts from his bedroom to this forest. And he walks and he explores and he gets on a boat and he travels a long distance over the sea, over the unknown, to this land where the wild things are. He is initiated. He's crowned king. But then he has this revelation and this realization that he is lonely and he wants to return to the place where he feels loved and comforted. So he renounces his kingship and he leaves and journeys back, returns to the known world. And when he returns to his bedroom, his food is hot. So I wonder, if this hero's journey is real or imagined. Is this something that Max is experiencing in his head? Or is this an actual journey, a fairy tale fantasy that he goes on? And you're welcome to talk about that after you watch the video. So just to recap, folks should have the archetype notes written down. And once you've talked a little bit about where the wild things are, I would like all students to complete the exit ticket. What other stories follow this model? I've heard some great examples so far. Katniss Everdeen in the Hunger Games, Shrek, Iron Man, Superman, Spider-Man, Hercules. Lots and lots of stories follow this model. And what I want you to do is tell me, think of one other story that follows this model and then provide 3 reasons to support your thinking. Those 3 reasons can be bullet points. And when you're done with this work, you can give it to your teacher and I'll collect it and look at it and give you some feedback. Again, if you have any questions for me in the meantime, you're welcome to email me or come up to D9 and say hello. Have a great day. Thank you.